What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the Other Side of the Firewall podcast, where we talk about the latest and greatest of cybersecurity news, as well as we highlight those movers and shakers and glass ceiling breakers, those people of color broken into the other side of the firewall. My name is Ryan Williams, and I'm not doing this intro again. With me today is Shannon Tynes.
What's up? What's up?
Chris Abacon.
What's going on, everybody?
And Daniel Acevedo.
We're back, baby. The fearsome foursome of cybersecurity podcast. Let's go.
Let's get it.
There it is. So welcome back to the show. So Monday, Tuesday are topics, Wednesday discussion, Thursdays Ask a CISSP, and then Fridays everything else, movies, books, games, all that good stuff. But without further ado, I give it to Shannon.
All right, everybody. So this article comes from Forbes.com, written by Davey Winder. And the title of this one is Dark Web Facial ID Farm Warning. Hackers Build Identity Fraud Database, right? So as I read that title, as is usually the case with us, right? We talk about how somebody broke in and got to some treasure trove or database of information to where they built this database, for facial IDs to farm them. Not the case is what they're saying in this one. They're saying people are actually voluntarily selling them. Like someone is reaching out to them and they're selling an identity package. Like they're giving their personal information, they're giving their photos, and they're getting paid for it. To which I'm like, I definitely read this wrong. Like I had to, this is the second one I had to go through and look at something twice to where I was like, I'm not reading this correctly, right? When I see this is exactly what they're saying they're doing. Is people are being approached. They're like, hey, sell us an identity package on you and we'll give you whatever the amount is. They don't discuss what the amount is, but I don't know what it would be that would be enough for me to do it, right? Like I can't figure it out. Maybe if I won the lottery, maybe if I was one of the ones that won that 1.2 billion or whatever, maybe I'd be like, yeah, give it up. I'm gonna change it all anyway, so it don't matter, right? Like, but no, I don't know how much they're getting, but to just voluntarily sell it, I just don't see that as like that short term, right? To whatever their money problems may be, it's just definitely not worth it, because the second and third order effects from it and the long lastingness of this being an issue, just not worth it at all. So like I can't see doing that. But Chris, what's your thoughts on this, man?
I mean, really, it threw me off as well, because usually you'll see an article, you read an article and be like, oh yeah, people are farming identities. They're collecting, they're just proliferating their database to include facial ID. But the fact that people are willing to actually sell their identities now, just like I was just thinking about this as you were talking, is like, are these identities, people from other countries, right? International identities, to where they want to be able to fish, and use an identity and create stuff for, getting jobs in other countries, right? Because you guys remember that Korea article, or that KnowBe4 incident, where they hired a North Korean person after all that vetting, right? So obviously, advanced persistent threat, different animal, but they were able to get one of their guys hired, right? Virtual interviews, blah, 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 all that stuff. So I think that maybe all this might be interconnected somehow. It's just more information for an adversary to be able to, hey, we can create somebody out of nothing, right? And take these, I don't know how that code works for facial ID, facial recognition. I'm sure, I'm familiar with Face ID. I bet you most of our viewers and listeners are familiar with Face ID. But there's also these a lot of these newer laptops that you can buy have facial ID built in for, Windows applications, and all that other stuff. So that might be something that, that can be farmed as well, right? I'm just thinking of all the web, right? Cybersecurity is a beast, right? These advanced persistent threats are you trying to utilize every means necessary to bypass, that human element, right? And the more information they have with this facial ID stuff, I think the more it is likely that they can start tricking advanced governments into thinking this is a real person, right? That's kind of the next level of identity fraud. It's like creating somebody out of nothing, and the whole AI thing, and utilizing AI to create somebody, making a video, utilizing or making sure that facial recognition is turned on in, for example, in what the webcams that we're using right now. There's just so many ways, right? I'm not in that field, at least in the coding of that or in the engineering of that. but there's a lot of action going on right now to be able to match facial recognition and their, real IDs that you guys have in your wallets, right? That's just next level, I think.
Yeah.
Daniel, what do you think?
No, definitely. There's a lot of things going on in this article. When I read it, I mean, I'm still hard pressed to believe that people maybe on the dark web themselves are selling their IDs to other people on the dark web. But that's kind of like if someone would approach me, it's at the airport. It's like, hey, hold this bag. Don't worry about it. It's ticking. Just I'll be back really quick. If I'm approached and they're like, hey, sell me your social security number and some online presence videos and voice of you so I can duplicate that, I'm going to say no. So it's either criminals selling to criminals or, like you said, I still think they're scraping this information from pools of information that have been compromised, tacked on to things that are being posted on social media, putting all this stuff together. I think that's a big pool of the database. And then now they're adding it to people on the dark web just forthcoming and selling their identities as well. So now they're getting even a larger pool of database. The article also alludes to how well deep fakes are right now, face swapping, how facial recognition can be even broken without this type of information. So it's not a perfect world already. So facial recognition can easily be broken. And one of the companies has demonstrated that with the deepfakes and with facial swaps. So we're kind of already there. So this is kind of a scary world that we're going to be living in. We've kind of talked about it a lot in previous articles. I always say, I'm going to tell my wife when the day comes, when I call her, we're going to have to use like a safe word on the phone to make sure that she knows it's me and it's not some kind of deep fake trying to trick her into like going somewhere and then getting jumped or something like that. Looking at my notes, I went through a whole rabbit hole before they told me that people were actually selling their information. But at the end of the day, Biometrics was supposed to replace PKI as a form of more secure authentication. But since these things are being able to break the biometrics so easily, it's almost the future. I see the future. I don't know if it's going to happen or not, where the biometrics are going to have some kind of hashing or other form of authentication alongside the biometric to ensure that it's not a deep fake. Because we're already seeing that whatever's there for facial recognition, at least in voice, is being broken very simply with the level of technology that's out there right now. Mm-hmm. But you think I'm going through a huge rabbit hole, Ryan? Too much sci-fi movies in my head right now, or is there something there?
No. The first thing that popped in my mind when I saw this was the movie The Creator with John David Washington in it, because in it there's a bunch of androids and advertisement and things of that nature. They all have the same face because this person sold their identity to the company and then they started to mass produce it. And it's a recurring theme within the movie. So I was like, man, we're almost there. Minus the androids walking down the street, but Elon's going to take care of that next year probably. So we will see. But I can wholeheartedly believe people are selling their likenesses because we do it all the time. But I think that this is targeted towards, like you said, maybe people overseas or those who may be lower income or disadvantaged, right? And it's probably veiled. It's probably not, hey, we want your identity package so that way we can steal from people. It's probably like, hey, we would like your likeness and some other things in exchange for money for some other non-nefarious type explanation, right? It's probably somebody at a kiosk in the middle of a mall overseas who's doing this, right? Like, hey, let's go to the booth and scan your face. And I'll give you $1,000 or something like that. All right. I don't know how much it would be. Probably less than $1,000. But because a lot of people don't have access to the dark web, right? They don't know that you need a Tor browser and you need to know the IP address to go to a specific place. There's a lot of setup for a regular person.
It is.
So I think it's probably a third party in there somewhere who's acquiring this in regular spaces and then putting it on the dark web. Because my thing was, if somebody were to approach me and to be literal with it and say, hey, we would like to take your likeness so we can use it for some bad reason or whatever, I would immediately be like, I don't want to be an accomplice. Like when you get busted, I don't want to get busted because it's going to be my face attached to it, right? So I think downstream it's probably being acquired in regular spaces with some kind of veiled means of saying, hey, we want your likeness for to do ads, or we want your likeness to do X or Y.
That makes more sense.
Here's some dough. It's got to be.
That's what I was thinking. That makes a lot more sense, actually.
Right. Then like people trying to figure out how to get to the dark web to do it. So that would be my thinking behind it, and then that also gives people some kind of plausible deniability as well when they come for them, because they're gonna like they have your likeness, like they have your face. So when they get busted, they're gonna come for you.
So I have two things, right? So I disagree with you in that people are actually selling it. We're giving it to them for free so we can have access to Facebook, Instagram,
But yeah,
TikTok.
that too.
We're giving that information away for free. They're not paying us for those accounts.
No
You sign
doubt.
up and you put that information in there. You're putting your birthday in there. You're putting
Yeah.
what your hobbies
Yeah.
are. You're putting all this information in there to set up this account. So I say I disagree. Yes, people are selling it. I'm not saying that, but like for the majority of the people out there, for the billions that have a Meta account, right, or on X, that's all for free, right? And Chris, there's something that you said, man. Like I didn't even think about it. Is that maybe they're targeting the people that are in foreign countries, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
if they are, yes, it doesn't like you can pay them in shekels. You know what I mean? To get them
Yeah.
to give you that information. You don't have to pay them a lot, but where it may be a little bit difficult if they are taking those identities. What do they have that they're using to be able to possibly do like the North Korean thing you're talking about, like to get a job
Correct.
in America or something? You don't have any type of visa paperwork or anything like that, right? Because they're just chilling in their home country. So it'd be a little bit harder if they're trying to go that route, like what North Korea was doing with the what did they call it? They had a term for it for what they were doing.
Yeah,
but,
there was a code for and a code
yeah.
name.
But yeah, that's I don't know. It was an interesting article, man. I was just like, who is selling this? Like, what are they doing here? But again, we
Out
have
of
to remember our
control.
background. Yeah, we I think we tend to forget where we came from, right? Like there was a point where we were not as up on cybersecurity and IT to where it's like, well, if we were those people, would we be doing that? Yeah,
I was
probably.
born
You
into
know what
it.
I mean? Okay,
I came
you're
out
like
the womb
Bing.
you're like
preaching.
Bane. Yeah,
Bing.
Bane. You merely live in cybersecurity. I was born of this.
We were born in it, yes.
I thought the same thing. Bang. That's exactly where my mind went.
Oh my god.
No, I don't disagree with you though. Like, yeah, we all at some point were misinformed and uneducated on cyber. But this one is just, I don't know. I say people shouldn't be able to fall for something like this, but then you watch people do the talk shows on the streets and they're able to get people's passwords and stuff like that. Like,
Yeah.
just through a simple conversation, you're like, people, stop it. But yeah, so definitely continue to tune in. I think this will be ever evolving. I think 2025 is going to be wild. Like we we say it about every year, but it's just spiraling out of control.
Honestly, 2024 has been absolutely insane with the election and all this crap going on. Assassinations. It's just been a crazy year, right?
They keep up in the game.
It's just, hey, it's 2025 has got a lot to it's got a lot to
It's got big shoes to fill, right?
It's got
Yeah.
big shoes to fill.
Yeah, it's going to be a wild ride, but definitely continue to tune in. Monday and Tuesday are topics, Wednesday discussion, Thursdays ask a CISSP, and then Fridays everything else. So movies, books, games, all that good stuff. Hit up all the websites that go by our name, social media presence, I should say, that go by our name, The Other Side of the Firewall, The Other Side of the FW, or Ask a CISSP. And then you can find me personally. I'm Ry Security Guy. That's RYRY Security Guy. You can find me on LinkedIn and all the other places. But LinkedIn is really where I do the most chatting back and forth. And where can I find you, Chris?
You can find me on LinkedIn under my name, Chris Abacon. Last name is spelled A Bacon.
And you, Daniel?
You find me on LinkedIn under my name, Daniel Acevedo.
There it is. Stay safe. Stay secure.